Medical Misunderstandings in Class Structure by Joshua Tobin for Art 200 with Dr. Michelle Craig, May 13, 2019. My investigative object is titled The Cowpox. It is a cartoon from 1804. It depicts a hospital in London where they are giving out the cowpox vaccine to the poor class with the incentive of free food, which is depicted on the left side of the illustration. The subjects are then growing cow parts on their body, depicted on the right side of the cartoon. This cartoon is a depiction of the distrust and suspicion of the newly developed vaccine for smallpox, which derived from cowpox, a disease which was found in cows that resembled smallpox. Experiments were conducted, and a vaccine for smallpox was found by injecting yourself with the cowpox disease. Patients would contract the cowpox disease, which gained you an immunity to smallpox, which was immensely more dangerous than cowpox and often fatal. This artwork is a form of satire because it is using exaggeration at the expense of the people, in this case the poor class. This artwork heavily relates to our society today because there is a large population of people that are incorrectly against vaccinating children. This piece is showing the people's same reaction in the 1800s. This vaccine that was at first feared was used more and more until the disease was completely eradicated in the 1980s. This leads me to my thesis, which is that this illustration shows that people have had a long-standing misunderstanding about vaccines as well as medical practices, especially affecting the lower classes of society. Relating to this topic is this scene created by Edward Kienholz titled The State Hospital, which we learned about in Chapter 10 of our textbook. This scene was created to protest the way that people deemed incompetent were handled with, a topic that also had a misunderstanding of at the time, similar to vaccines in the 1800s and today. This installation depicts a mental patient strapped to their bed. He has a thought bubble above him, which is him thinking about himself because he is in utter complete isolation. Everything in the room, from the person, beds, and walls, are very filthy. The objects in the room are actual items taken from a mental hospital, such as the bed frame, urinal, and rolling table. As well as the misunderstanding of medical practices, this also relates to the issues in the cowpox illustration. The individual in the installation is deemed incompetent, putting him at the lowest class. These people are put in a mental institution where they are isolated and forgotten about. The bottom classes were tested on the 1800s in London, while the bottom class were put away in homes in the United States in 1966. Esther Hernandez dealt with an on-topic issue as well with her artwork Sun Mad, also in Chapter 10. In Hernandez's hometown in the U.S., raisin growers used a heavy amount of insecticides on their grapes. This contaminated the groundwater that the lower classes used to bathe and drink. She used the very popular image of Sun Maid, but changed the woman into a skeleton and changed the maid to mad. Her artwork reached farther than just her hometown and showed the world that people did not know about the issue of farmers using pesticides, which affects the groundwater. We have never had a complete understanding of medical practices, an example being in 1543, Andreas Vesalius of Brussels performed an autopsy on a cadaver where he slowly stripped the body of its muscles, leaving them barely attached to show their points of connectivity. Vesalius published De Humani Corpus Fabrica to study the bones, tissues, and muscles of the body because they did not have an understanding at the time. This helped them gain knowledge of the way our bodies are built, but nowhere near put them in a full understanding of the human body. Before this, Western knowledge of the human body was based on ancient Greek, Roman, and medieval Arabic writings, which were riddled with misunderstandings and flat-out errors. People will always be wary and misunderstanding of medicine at first, and more often than not, the lower classes are the ones to be affected. In the 1800s, they were used as guinea pigs for the cowpox vaccine. Today, there is a misunderstanding that vaccines may cause forms of autism. This can affect the lower class, which may not be able to afford proper health care and vaccines for their children, which can introduce them to diseases we have been able to prevent for many years. Our society today needs to reflect on the past history of vaccines and learn that the benefits outweigh any possible negative side effects, which also have not been proven. The anti-vaccination movement is affecting more people than the general population thinks. This is a topic that needs to be brought up more because it is endangering the lives of the world's innocent children.